everybody. Welcome to Them Dragons, though. For the last time for about a year, my name is Duncan, and with me, as always, is Garrett.
Hey, man.
Glad you're excited about this. No, I'm just. It's a shame that it's come to an end, man. Season 7, it's wrapped up. It did wrap up in a pretty good fashion, though. I mean, I got to say. But it's just a bummer that we're not going to have anything to talk about, really, for, almost a year and a half.
We don't have to be friends now. It's kind
of... we can go back to not being friends.
It's kind of nice. So, no, it is. It's always sad when a show has the season finale, and then just imagine what it's going to be like next year or whenever we actually get to season 8, like when the series is over.
So is there not anything official for season 8?
I don't think yet. I think they've talked about the release date of the premiere of the season, but they haven't really nailed it down like they did this one.
So there's a chance though that it might not be until 2019.
From what I've read, yes, but I will double check on that.
Okay. Well, for those of you guys who are checking us out for the first time, first of all, sorry that you're checking us out on the last episode of the season. But my name is Duncan, and I have absolutely no history whatsoever with Game of Thrones. My co-host Garrett here, he has quite a bit of history with Game of Thrones. He's watched every season multiple times, and he is what you would call a fanatic. And our typical other co-host, Will, is the same way. Unfortunately, Will couldn't join us tonight, which is really unfortunate because it's the last episode. That's sad, but we're hoping that whenever that next season, whenever season 8 is announced, we'll be ready for it, and we'll be ready to go. But it's been crazy, man. It's been a crazy season because. I think I mentioned an episode or two ago, like my knowledge of Game of Thrones is like really like night and day from that knowing nothing in that first episode to now. It's like, it's crazy. And I'm like, I get so excited about this stuff now. And whereas a couple of months ago, dude, I could have cared less. And it's crazy now. Like I'm all caught up in it. And I think that's sort of the plan for the off season now that the show now that season 7 is wrapped up. I think what we'll do is we'll get back together maybe about every month or so and sort of check in, and I'll watch every season and we'll sort of get caught up and we'll talk about it, and I think that'll be a good way to sort of prep for episode 8 because it seems like we got plenty of time to wait for.
Yeah, no, we do have a good while. I was reading Jaime Lannister's character Nikolai
Waldo or something like that.
He said that production will start in October.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, that's still.
But it could be next October.
Yeah, that could take another
on that, so.
year.
Now, I'm excited for you in particular, and anyone else that was afraid of Game of Thrones or thought we were so far along, that you do get this lengthy break here to actually go back and watch. And I've actually started season 1 over again. Yeah,
you've already finished it, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm already through season 1 again. So. And Ned Stark's dead. Spoiler alert, yeah. But no, this will be my 4th go round.
Wow.
So
that's crazy, man. You are dedicated for sure. But no, yeah, that was sort of that's sort of the whole idea of this podcast was, when we sort of put through this idea together, I was like, well, I don't watch Game of Thrones. Like, well, what would I be able to contribute to something like this? And the whole idea was to sort of be able to talk about the show through the eyes of somebody who doesn't really know much about it and is sort of jumping into season 7 for the first time without really any backstory whatsoever on any of these characters. But I think this was a good season to jump in on for sure. I think we had enough high moments, enough crazy action, and then enough like low moments to where I was able to sort of catch up, and I feel like I got a pretty good grasp on what's going on right now, and I am freaking ready for season 8 now, man, especially after that finale.
I feel like you jumped into a season that had more action in totality over some of the other previous seasons.
This was the most like The Walking Dead.
Yeah, this is the most we've actually seen of on-screen time of the Night King, and I think that's kind of what they were going with season 7. Like, Winter's here, and his half of his face was kind of the poster
for
the season.
Yeah,
so
very true.
I think we kind of knew we were going to see more Night King, but now it's I don't know, your first 6 seasons, and like the directors have talked about this, like first 6 seasons they're expanding the universe, and then now they said like we're contracting it back down
now
to like
it's close to
our
the
main
end.
characters here. So
do you think that this has been the most exciting season? Like most?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I think too is the time frame. Like it's condensed, so it's 7 episodes as opposed to 10. So we still would have gotten like 3 filler episodes.
Is it really? Has it always been 10 episodes?
Always been 10.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So
that's
crazy.
That's
what
a jip.
Yeah. Well, when it came out
I think
next season,
I read something that said that each episode has actually been a little bit longer than they have been in the past, which I guess sort of makes up for it.
They're trying to make up for it. But somewhere I was reading, season 8 is going to be 6 episodes.
Oh.
So we're even going to go one less. But I mean, everything's kind of.
Dude,
everything's going now, so it makes kind of more sense.
I gotta think that they're gotta do something.
Yeah, milk the cash cow.
I mean, that's when it comes to so many shows, like especially when I think about shows like Breaking Bad. Like I know Breaking Bad, they went into Breaking Bad like with a set beginning, middle, and end for the entire series, and that was the unfortunate thing about Breaking Bad is it ended like right at the height of its popularity, and like, I mean, they could have kept going with more seasons, but I guess that's not what the creator wanted to do. But it's just unfortunate that right at the height of its popularity, like it ended. And, now I've heard that, I've heard Better Call Saul is a good show, but it's not like what
I can't
Bad is.
Mainly, I just didn't like Saul in Breaking Bad, so I never gave Better Call Saul a chance. But no, I mean, it's, I was talking to a friend on Friday, and we were discussing kind of the status of Game of Thrones. He's we're gonna try to actually maybe work him in. We talked about Duncan and I discussed that
he doesn't live in town. But
we're gonna maybe Skype him.
Yeah,
in
we'll figure something out. We'll be so technologically advanced for next season.
But for me, like I'm strictly for the most part, I'd say the show fan, whereas he is the book fan first.
Oh,
he's read every single book. And he's just like chomping at the bit for George R.R. Martin to finish the series, which I don't know if it's ever going to happen. But we're kind of at the point where we're like, the writing's not as good as it was. Personally, for me, like the small intricate things and the.
I wonder how much involvement he's got with the writing process this late into the game.
See, I don't know if he does anymore. I know,
or if I think it's the two guys. I think I got it pulled up right here: D.B. Weiss and David Benioff. Those are those two guys that are always in the little after show thing. And I wonder how much George R.R. Martin actually has to do with what happens.
I think in the early seasons he was kind of consulted. But once
but he had already had all that stuff created, and they're just sort of off.
Going with what they can bring from a book to on screen,
right?
And so in the book where we're at, just to kind of backpedal a little bit on there, Jon Snow is still dead. So that's how kind of far back like the books go to the actual show. So we've got 2 seasons that are nothing to do with the actual series of books.
Right.
So, but no, it's I don't know. I enjoyed the season a lot. Like I really did. I think the dragons actually getting to fight is what people have been waiting for 7 years.
Yeah.
And we get to see it finally. And they pack a punch, and it's fun to see that. And then, like I said, this season had more action, I feel. And like I said, I'm going through the seasons again, so I'll be able to actually give a good report back on that. Yeah. But I do feel like this season had more action than probably the series combined.
Well, that goes back to the whole 7 episodes versus 10 episodes. That's the good thing about doing 7 episodes is they're able to sort of dump more money per episode and give us those cool visuals than maybe they were in the past. And that's what has led to this being, in my opinion, I think such a great season of television, like just all around. One of the better, I get so invested into shows and then I get so disinterested so quickly. This show, and I wonder if it had been the case, if this had been a similar case, if I had started with season 1 or if I had started Like if I started in the middle somewhere, as opposed to now this close to the end, if I would have gotten that invested into it with another season. I don't know. I guess we'll never know. But I just think about things like Defenders and all of those Marvel shows. Like I've gotten so bored of those Marvel shows. And I'm so over Walking Dead. I'm not even interested in watching the next season of Walking Dead. But this show has really kind of filled a void for me, and it'll give me something to watch for the next few months for sure. But I guess we've danced around it enough. I guess we can go ahead and jump into this season finale, The Dragon and the Wolf. Man, what an episode! Just sort of off the top of your head, like what were some of the things that stuck out for you, G Daddy?
Cersei being Cersei.
Yeah. Typical.
Baelish gets his.
He does, yeah.
Which with the way it went down was very fitting. We know it's more than one person knows Jon's parents.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be a huge plot line they're going to run with.
They're going to string that along quite a bit for season 8.
And the wall comes down. I mean,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's we were talking while it was happening, and after some shrieks and stuff, whenever we see Viserion, we're like, oh my god! And then finally, I was like, dude, I knew it was happening. If you go back to the first episode of the podcast, I said I think the season finale is going to be the wall comes down. I didn't know where, Eastwatch, but no, it was. I thought it was a fantastic finale.
It makes sense. You knew the wall was going to have to come down at one point, or if they were going to have to freaking go over it somehow. But no, it actually makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. Like, how else were they going to be able to get through the wall without a dragon?
See, I thought maybe because he had, when Bran was warged, or when he was the three-eyed raven and he was going to a vision and he was warging, the Night King touched him, and so I didn't know if he was branded at that point, and so if he just went to the wall and he could touch it and bring it down. I didn't know, because there is some magic that's delved into the wall. They do talk about that in early seasons, but I had no clue. But then after last week's episode where the dragon dies and the Night King resurrects him, I was like, yep, well, this is how they're gonna get through the wall now. So I was like, might as well just pile a bunch of them on and then fly over it.
You didn't think we'd see the dragon again?
Not this season.
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be next season.
Right, which makes sense. I think that's one of the things that we saw there at sort of the show after the show, that little behind the scenes thing that we watched after the actual episode ended. One of the creators of the show, David Benioff, I don't know how to pronounce that. Co-creators. He mentioned that he had said that how season finales he in his opinion had sort of fallen into maybe a bit of a formula, and he wanted to sort of go the other way with this one, and
he did that for sure. Because in a reference last season, we see Dany sailing west over to Wessos from Essos, and we see her fleet with the Dothraki and with the Unsullied, and it's kind of it's gonna go down. But then now we see the dragon and the Night King and the army of the dead walking through, and you're like, oh, it's gonna go down. But it's not as
that was a cool visual though, man. That was really cool to see. And
that blue fire,
dude, yeah, blue eyes white dragon for sure. Dude, I was surprised, just based upon what you have told me of the season. You had always of the seasons, you had mentioned that typically it's the episode before, the next to last episode is really sort of the big one, and I think they ended with a bang for sure.
Yeah,
on this one,
this season's ending was. Left the cliffhanger, obviously, because we see the Army of the Dead walking south. So that's our cliffhanger, how far can they reach before season 8 starts? But typically it is Battle at Blackwater Bay was the episode before the finale in season 2, I think, somewhere along there. And so we always get these really awesome episodes of action things, and I was like, well, it's probably going to be talk, cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. That's kind of that, and I will say that's kind of the formula I'm thinking David Benioff is referencing.
Right.
But now it kind of changed it up a little bit, and so it was refreshing for me. And then
for sure,
I guess the only question I had was, how does Viserion's wing already have a hole in it? Like,
dude, it's already starting to
he's decaying.
Decaying a little bit.
Well, whatever. But I guess we can go. Well, I mean, we obviously just talked about the end, but you want to do like beginning and go all the way through?
So the beginning of The Dragon and the Wolf opens up with sort of the meeting between the meeting here at King's Landing with Jon Snow and his little crew, Daenerys and her sort of little posse, and then Cersei and the rest of the sort of Lannister crew. And the reason for the meeting is because they're Jon Snow and Daenerys are hoping to, by showing Cersei, giving her proof that the White Walkers are real and they're a threat, that they can sort of go into sort of a ceasefire, if you will, and put their efforts to a more imminent threat, as opposed to just the sort of infighting between the three groups.
For me, it was it was interesting because they're not even asking for her help. Like, they just want a truce, on Daenerys' armies versus the Lannister armies, for them not to keep fighting, because Daenerys says, like, I'm going to go north and we're going to go fight to save the people, because if they keep coming south, like, they will destroy everything. So that was definitely telling. But Cersei, like I said, Cersei was Cersei in this episode.
Right.
Like, she didn't believe anything until the Hound actually brings the white out.
Right.
And it gets really close to her. And I felt like the mountain kind of was spooked too. Like, that maybe it was just kind of the way he was trying to get his sword out, but he was backing up slowly. But yeah, no, this whole time she's being big and bad and talking to Dany, who, Dany does make a grand entrance on Drogon. After everybody, she keeps asking, like, where is she? And then all of a sudden you hear, like, the screech of the dragon. Dany's flying in.
Yeah, she made heck of an entrance for sure.
So, but she's being herself, and she's like, blah, 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 and all this stuff about, we'll destroy you and stuff like that. But that's when Tyrion and Jon speak up, and then the Hound brings the white. Her whole demeanor changed. And she did a great job.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the actress, Lena Headey, did fantastic of being the typical Cersei and then seeing the white and how, like, petrified she was.
Right. But she still sort of, like, played it off. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, that's just Cersei for you.
But she gives, so she, I guess she's spooked enough, though, to sort of agree to the what would you call it?
Just a truce.
Yeah, truce. Okay, yeah, that's a good way to put it. But she gives him one stipulation that, of course, that Jon stepped down. She does not give this same stipulation to Daenerys, but she tells Jon to sort of bend the knee, which is, we've obviously known from episodes past that Jon has a hard time bending the knee to anybody.
He's got bad knees, man.
He's got he's got a hard time getting up.
No, but it was. She even says to Daenerys that she wouldn't trust her, even if she did say she would. If Daenerys would, swear fealty.
Swear to me.
So that's when, like, it's made public knowledge that Jon actually is following Dany. Like, he is.
Yeah, he does. He's like,
I'm loyal to her, and that's the Ned Stark in him right there.
He's like, that's my boo.
Yeah. Well, we find out that later more too. But
for sure.
But no, it was that loyalty and just being a good moral. His moral compass is always pointed north, and that's what he gets from his father, Ned Stark, and it was it took everyone kind of aback. Like, right. Even Tyrion was like, "Wait, when did this happen?" Like, hey, hang on, like, because Tyrion's the hand of the queen. He should know everything that's kind of going on, but there have been some little secret meetings between Jon and Dany that he's not a part of, and so when Jon says that he's not going to swear fealty or allegiance to Cersei, she's like, "Yep, well, this is over. The truce is not going to happen."
Yeah,
and she walks away.
She immediately pulls away, but thanks. It's then at that point that Tyrion sort of, he sort of gathers himself and he's like, maybe I can convince her. Which is dangerous because this is the woman that's tried to, what he says, that she's tried to
kill him twice that he knows of.
Yeah, that he knows of, and this is also the guy that killed her, I guess her father, mm-hmm. her mother, and two of her three children.
She accuses him of killing Tommen and Marcella, even though he didn't directly have anything to do with it.
Does he have anything to do with this?
He sends Marcella off to Dorne, and that's when that Ileana Sand kisses Marcella, but she has poison on her lips, and she dies as soon as she gets into King's Landing.
Oh.
And then Tommen was the king after all this. He was married to Marjorie Tyrell, but Cersei actually kind of forces that one. Like that's all on her. Like that's the only one I can say is like completely on her, because she uses the wildfire, destroys the temple where the High Sparrow is, and Marjorie dies. Well, then Tommen throws himself out his window. He just commits suicide.
Oh, okay.
So, but
he gets blamed for it.
Oh yeah, because they said that Tyrion caused all this. Like she always blames everything on Tyrion. Like it's always his fault. He did, like, their mother died in childbirth with Tyrion. Like he was born and she died after complications. And then
probably got blamed for that one too.
Oh, he does. Like from season 1, like she just constantly like digs at him and stuff. But he actually did kill his dad. Like Tywin was sitting on in a bathroom. He was sitting on a toilet and taking a dump, and like Elvis. And Tyrion comes over here and just shoots a crossbow into his chest.
Wow.
So that was actually pretty cool, though.
She mentions that in the episode. She's like, with one crossbow, you tore apart. What does she say? Not a.
She left us open for the vultures, basically, and what was happening was people kept coming in, like the Tyrells were coming in, and that's when that High Sparrow stuff was happening, which you wouldn't know a whole lot about on that. That was kind of a weird turn they did, but she said that none of this would ever happen if Tywin, their dad, was still alive. So she blames everything that's happened to Lannisters, anything that's happened to her brother, the shame walk she had to do. She blames it on Tyrion when he hasn't been in King's Landing for like 5 seasons.
Okay. But Tyrion is able to, sort of get Cersei, apparently. If you watch the show after the show, one of those guys kept referring to her as Cersei instead of Cersei. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Tyrion is able to get her to change her mind, or at least we think so. But then it's not until after the fact did she sort of.
Well, she actually tells Daenerys and Jon that she's gonna march her forces north to help, and so that wasn't even part of the deal from the get go. And I feel like that was like a warm fuzzy moment for Dany and Jon. They're like, okay, yeah, we got some backup now. Well, this is another thing. Cersei being Cersei, she pulls that out real quick. She's like,
she reveals to Jaime that she's sort of not telling the truth, and she's just going to do whatever she has to do to.
What she's going to do is, while they're fighting north, she's going to take back lands for the Lannisters.
Oh, okay.
While Dany
I was a little
busy.
bit in the dark about what her exact plan was.
So yeah, she's got the Iron Bank at her side, and they are going to supply her with horses and horses and elephants and soldiers. She says in this episode, and they're going to take back the lands that are no longer theirs because of the war and people like not swearing allegiance. So she's constantly, that's just who she is. Like, that's just the way it always is. And there's a really telling moment for me with Jaime and Cersei, though. Like, whenever all this is revealed to Jaime, and he's the most normal person, I feel like, in this show now, besides the incest stuff. Like, if you can get past that, like, he's the most, like, his moral compass is actually, like, it's turned so much more than season 1. Like, if you watch season 1, Duncan, like, once we start going through it, you're gonna be like, this can't be the same guy. Like, it's just weird. But
he's had an arc.
He really has. But he's not having part of this. Like, he's like, I'm going north to.
Yeah, and he leaves
to honor what I said. And like, they show him leaving King's Landing, and it's starting to snow in King's Landing.
Oh yeah,
so, like,
good point. I forgot about that.
Winter's here.
Winter is
everywhere.
Here.
So,
baby.
Yeah, it was. It's that backs up the thing where I've said I think Jaime kills Cersei.
I would agree with that. I told you that when we were watching the episode. I thought that I thought to myself, I was like, this is a little bit kind of premature if this does happen, but I could definitely see that happen. But then also in that moment with the mountain, I thought that it might go the other way.
where she gets him executed?
I thought there was a chance that she gets the mountain to kill him, and it looked like it was going that way. But then she sort of gives the nod to sort of pull the trigger, so to say, and get rid of Jamie. But then he's like, "I don't believe you."
Yeah, and he just walks away and then gets on his horse and covers up his gold hand so no one will recognize him.
Oh yeah.
But no, we assume he's riding north. That's the only thing we can think from there. But that dynamic that's really turned on its head the last couple seasons, I'd say. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how that unfolds come season 8. And that's where I'm like really anxious. Like that first episode, I'm really anxious to see like where the White Walkers are, where everyone else is. Like, have Dany and Jon made it to the north? Are they in Winterfell? Are they still, making their way there? Where's Jamie at this point? Because for all we know, like they could make him be like a drunk and he's just stuck on the King's Road somewhere, just drinking and going to brothels. I mean, that's kind of the way Game of Thrones works sometimes. Like Gendry was gone for 4 seasons, so we didn't see him. But no, that was a very telling for me, and that just solidifies my theory that Jaime's going to be the one that kills Cersei.
I think that would definitely be a way to go. And that would sort of be just, but we do. You had mentioned that you already weren't aware of this, but I was not aware that she's actually pregnant again with another child, which kind of, maybe that does change things, but no, I think I'm with you. I think that's ultimately how it's going to happen. And I think it would be the most cinematic, theatrical way to sort of end that story is, the brother and sister that were incestuously in love with each other to sort of one die by the hand of the other. But so just moving on, our boy Theon had a pretty nice little moment. He had a little moment of retribution.
Yeah, I'm Theon and Reek. I've said this before too. Like, I'm tired of that storyline, just personally. He does have a good moment with Jon though. That was probably the best he's had in a long time, because
I think the best, just jumping back just a little, I think the best like sort of conversational moment in the episode was that conversation between Tyrion and Cersei. I think that was a cool moment there.
Oh, well, that's kind of the way it always is when like those two characters are together.
I guess
and they're talking.
I haven't seen those two characters together.
But no,
yet.
it's Tyrion knows how to talk to his sister, and he knows like his sister's just going to come out with these insults and like blame him for everything. Like, he gets that, and he even says like, if you're going to have me executed, go ahead and do it now, and have the mountain just cut me down here. Doesn't happen. So, and that's when we get to find out that she said she's going to march north with it.
Right. But yeah, back to Theon. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. No, Theon approaches Jon actually as he's getting ready to head back north. And so
to the north.
He apologizes for everything he's done, and Jon says, our father was more of a father than your father ever was to you. And so he's saying Ned Stark is more of a father to Theon than Baelor Greyjoy was, which is true. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Are they related? No.
Oh, okay. They're just.
So what happened was Baelor Greyjoy sent his son Theon when he was 8 years old to be to the north, to be at Winterfell with Ned Stark and like train under him and like be. They call it like a ward, I guess, is what the actual terminology is. Basically, he was raised by Ned Stark.
Okay.
And so he was basically another brother to Jon and Robb Stark.
Gotcha.
And so, Jon actually says, like, you're a Greyjoy and you're a Stark. And so it was good for me. It gave Theon the confidence he needed. Like, that's what he's been lacking since he got his balls cut off by Ramsay. Like, that's what he's needed.
They had a funny little moment.
They did. Like, that you actually said, like, no, that's kind of corny.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of corny. When he gets kicked in that region a few times and he's like, oh, I got the upper hand on you. Yeah. I don't have those anymore.
No, but so what happens is he's going to the other men from the Iron Islands, and he says, we need to go get Yara.
The Ironborn.
Yeah, he goes to them, and he says that we've got to go get Yara, his sister, who was captured by Euron in like the second episode of the season. So he he loses this fight like for probably 90% of it. Like he's just getting whooped, and the guy's like, "Stay down, I'm going to kill you." And then that's when he gets kicked in the nether region, and he actually ends up killing this guy. Which for me, I was like, "Dang, look at you, Theon! you go, man!" Because he hasn't really done anything besides shoot a bow and arrow into people. But no, it was. I think we might have broken through, and Theon's actually going to be Theon now instead of have his Reek PTSDs come back, and he's like scared of everything. And we may see Yara again. She actually might be dead, but I think that Euron Theon battle is going to be probably pretty good in season 8. Like that's going to be a pretty good little thing there. But I mean, like I said before, like I'm kind of tired of Theon. I feel like it's.
I'm with you. Yeah, I think I can see that. Yeah.
It's just we go. He redeems himself, and then he's a coward again. And he redeems himself. Like so, right now we're in the redeeming himself portion, which I hope it stays here.
Yeah, if
it's going to, but we'll see. I mean, he's definitely gonna be around season 8. That's kind of what they alluded to on that. So.
Right. Yeah. Do you think you could ultimately see him like becoming the leader of the Iron Island?
So his sister was elected queen. And he didn't want anything to do with being the ruler.
Oh, okay.
So I doubt he'll ever do that unless Yara's gone.
Okay.
And then he's like, it's my duty.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, so later on, we go back to Winterfell, and we get what I thought was a really great moment between Sansa, Arya, and our boy Littlefinger.
Yeah.
You think that Arya is getting sentenced basically for murder and treason, but it turns out that the entire scene is based around Littlefinger. What else is he called? What's his other name?
Peter Baelish is his
Baelish, Lord Baelish. Okay.
So the first time we go, it's Baelish and Sansa are talking, and he's still got those conniving ways about him, and he's really trying to turn the Stark sisters against one another.
Yeah, he's like a weasel.
That should be his sigil, but it's a bird. No, it's fantastic because you still see him he thinks he's in control of everything, and he says that he asked Sansa like, "Why did your sister come back?" And Sansa's like, to kill me to betray my family, and then Baelish says, "Well, what happens if you die? Like, what does that make her?" And then Sansa says, "The Lady of the North, Lady of Winterfell." That's what Sansa wants to rule. Like, that's kind of where she is. Like, that's her dynamic. Like, she wants to be a leader. She wants to be a force to be reckoned with. And then that's not Arya. Like, that's just not. But Arya could, want to actually kill her sister for betraying her family. Like, that, I could see that. But the whole time, like, Baelish is, like, stirring this pot some more and some more and some more. Well, then we go back there to Winterfell, and Sansa says, "Bring my sister to the Great Hall." In front of, and so like everyone's there. The Knights of the Vale are there. The Northmen are there. Bran and Sansa are sitting at the high table, and Baelish is on the wall. And Sansa just turns everything on its head and says, "You're accused with murder and treason. How do you plead?" And then she looks over at Baelish and she says, "Lord Baelish," and he is like,
he's like, "What?"
Yeah, he's just taken aback, and she calls him out for everything, and then Bran actually says, you held a knife to my father's throat and said, I told you shouldn't have trusted me, which he actually does. I want to say episode 6 or 7, season 1. I just finished it, so that's kind of why I can actually remember that. But no, it was so fitting. Like, 3 Starks are all united there, and he drops to his knees.
Arya takes him out.
Arya kills him with his own dagger. Like, that's the best part about it. Like, that dagger that's been going around for forever. She gets to slit his throat, and so fitting. Like, I have been waiting so long,
right,
for Baelish to die. And we finally get it.
So funny. Yeah, I guess that character is not going to make it to season 8.
Sucks for him though. You made it this far. Like, you were in season 1 through 7, and like you died in the last episode.
Yeah, I guess what I didn't realize is like him sort of like he is the one who sort of. Apparently,
he started the whole thing.
He starts the feud between the Starks and the
Lannisters.
Lannisters, yeah.
And he actually was the one that killed Jon Arryn. Does
he have a reason for doing it? Or is it just
stir stuff up? I think that's probably the main reason he'd probably say that.
That was one thing that I sort of got from that character was that he is sort of stirring the pot, so to say. But I didn't ever get a real good reason why.
Think,
he doesn't seem to be in it for himself. Like he's trying to, he hopes to be on the throne.
Yeah, he wants to be on the Iron Throne.
Okay.
They referenced that a couple times, but he figures that he's not good at battle. Like he knows this. He's good at words, and he's good at stirring things up and pitting one family against another. And so I think his grand plan was to have all the 4 main families die. He's left, and he can rule. Like, I mean, it's very far-fetched to think that way just because there's so many, but like that's why he also was trying to be buddy-buddy with Sansa, because that's a Stark, and he's like, well, if I can, marry her, then I've got a claim to be the king, blah, blah, blah. But, he started the war between the Starks and the Lannisters. He actually killed Jon Arryn, made it seem like the Lannisters did so that Ned Stark would go up there, start that war. So a lot actually in that scene happened, and we get a lot of reference from back where we were, the first probably 3 seasons of the war that's going on there. But it was so refreshing. God, it was the best death either. Like we're not gonna hang him, like he's gonna die instantly. Like Arya slits his throat.
Yeah,
and he dies in a pool of blood in the Great Hall at Winterfell.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the history with the character, but based upon what I've heard from you guys, it seems to be a pretty fitting ending for that character. But following that, we get another great moment. You can't have a bad moment with good old Samwell. But Samwell returns and meets up with Bran, and they have an interesting little conversation. Bran reveals to him that he's the 3-eyed raven, and Samwell's sort of like, oh, well, good for
I don't know.
You.
Not really sure what that means, but all right. Good job. Yeah.
But that's when they have the conversation about Jon's real heritage and his real name and who he truly is and how he needs to know that.
What was wild to me was Bran knows all.
Why couldn't he have told Jon earlier,
Well, he hasn't seen him.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't realize that.
He hasn't seen him since he became a 3-eyed raven. So, that conversation goes, Bran says, Jon is not the bastard of my father. His name shouldn't be even Snow. It should be Sand, because Bran thinks that Jon is the bastard of Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark. So that's when Sam's like, no, hang on. I was scribing for a maester at the Citadel, and there was an annulment. Rhaegar had an annulment from Eliara Sand, I think, or Iliara Sand, something like that. I don't know. The names kind of like get convoluted a little bit,
right? Yeah.
But
Bran, but Bob the Builder,
Bran the Builder, but he married Lyanna Stark, and they were actually in love, and she wasn't raped. Like the whole like Robert Baratheon's rebellion was built on a lie, and Bran says that he goes, none of this happened. They were actually in love, and Jon is actually the rightful heir to the throne, and his name is actually Aegon Targaryen.
Aegon Targaryen, which is an awesome name.
So
Samwell also talks about what he had read in the book of the annulment and sort of how everything was sort of on the up and up, and I guess things have not been told.
Yeah, that's the only record they have of it, and so he asks Bran to see if like this actually did happen. And we actually get to see Jon's parents. Like we get to see Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark at their wedding ceremony.
Which I guess that's probably been a minute since we've seen either one of those characters.
Oh, they've both been dead. Like she died in childbirth with Jon, and then Rhaegar was killed.
And I feel bad for all these women.
Well, it's the midwives. They didn't have the modern technology of hospitals. But no,
they got dragons though.
But them dragons though. No, but the whole time. So what's happening is Bran is narrating at this point. Well, Jon and Dany are sailing south together, and I told Duncan this happened. I was like, God, they're gonna hook up. I was like, this is gonna be bad. Like this is not good. But people have been like calling for it, and they do. Like
they
bump uglies.
They perform coitus.
Coitus. But no, it's
they copulate.
I'm wondering when Sam or Bran tells Jon how he's gonna feel about that.
Like, don't do it. That's your aunt.
Yeah.
But I've told you before in this show, like banging your aunt, like that's
the least thing to worry about.
That's one of the that's almost normal in this freaking show.
Yeah, but now that's good. That's where we were saying, they're gonna extend that plot line in season 8, at least until I would assume John and Danny get to Winterfell and he has some alone time with either Sam or Bran. I'm sure like the first time they try to say something, they're going to get interrupted. That's just kind of the way the show goes. Sam's like, I've got to tell you something, and then, or sit down with both of them. And John's like, not right now. I need to go.
They walk up like holding hands and they're like, ooh, gross.
And they're like, what, whoa. So, but it's nice to know like somebody else knows about John.
Yeah.
And we actually have the full story on him now. Like his name should be Aegon Targaryen and not Jon Snow. I guess, I would assume Ned changed his name to protect the boy.
Yeah.
Like just do a generic name John and then he's a bastard Snow. Got it. Nailed it.
Yeah. Star Wars could have took a lesson from that. Well, let's put this boy back on the planet where his father is from and they give him the same name that he always had.
Yeah. Well.
Anyways, but no, I thought that was a cool moment, and it's cool to sort of. I didn't realize that we would know what John's real name is, and no, it's just cool to get to see that moment where you sort of like it's weird. It's weird to find out that these two people are related to each other. All meanwhile they're actually bumping uglies, as you so eloquently put it.
Thank you.
But it was a cool moment for sure, and it'll be. They probably won't. You probably won't get any.
I doubt we have another scene like that in the remaining 6 episodes.
Yeah,
but it's happened. So people, I think some of the female fans and some of the guys who are like into. See, I'm not a romantic. Like that's not why I watch the show. Like I don't really care about that. But some people actually they really want that, and I'm sure there are probably tweets right now that they're like, "Oh my god, it finally happened," But I'm just like, whatever, I can do without it. So,
but that sort of takes us to sort of the last moment of the show. We see Daenerys' ship sort of sailing off. We see the sail with the dragon on it, but then shortly after that, we're taken back to the wall, back to our boy Tormund and
Beric Dondarrion,
and they sort of start to notice that we're starting to get several hundred White Walkers and sort of those. I don't even know what you would call them, the white generals or whatever you would call them, starting to crowd up, against the wall there. And I started thinking, I was like, oh God, here it comes.
Well, you mentioned, you're like, where's the dragon? I said, well, where's the Night King? And that's kind of, and then I was like, oh.
I think
then we both kind of
both sort of at the same time, we're like, oh, here it comes.
And then Viserion screeches, and you hear it.
And then I
Tormund
screeched too. I was like,
yeah, no, that's a true story. But we see the Night King is riding Viserion, and he wreaks havoc on the wall.
He really does, man.
That blue fire.
We get confirmation like it's blue fire, which is cool, and you had mentioned like it looked strange because it looked like he was already starting to decay a little bit, so he's got like holes in his wings, and it's a cool look for sure, man. And it's going to be interesting to see like what all he's going to be able to do with that dragon in this next season, because they made pretty short work of that wall. Oh, man. That wall really had no chance.
He blew a huge hole. Like the entire Army of the Dead's like they're having to funnel into it, but they're making significant headway, and it's oh man, it's gonna be so interesting to see.
Yeah, it's exciting for sure. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, man, next season is gonna be crazy.
I just think about like next week we don't have it.
I know, it sucks, man.
That's like where I'm at. I'm just like, man, like it's so fun to watch this show, and like
it really is.
This is such a good like water cooler talk at work. Like,
man,
I've got friends and stuff that I like.
I've started talking to people at work at my job that I don't ever talk to because.
Did you see Game of Thrones? Khaleesi's. It was dope.
Khaleesi's.
Liam Neeson's.
Them dragons, though. Dragons, though.
No, but we're excited. I think we're both excited. I'm interested to talk to Will because we haven't actually talked to him since the episode.
I'm sure Will is going to be stoked.
But we're there. For me, it's so surreal because like we're done. Like once
everything's sort of falling into place, man.
Like it's just kind of wild. Like it's 8 years of my life is gonna be gone. I'm like, dang.
Where, have you watched from the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing 8 years ago?
I was living in the apartment before it burned.
Oh, okay. So you were back in Memphis. You weren't.
Yeah, I was in Memphis. Yeah,
you weren't still in Knoxville. Oh man, that's crazy.
It's just they've done a good job. Like I don't want to just say beat them up or anything like that. I just don't want them to rush this, which I feel like 6 episodes we're gonna have to.
Yeah, I remember when this show started. I remember I was still working at Best Buy, and I remember I would see the little preview. There's like all those TVs in Best Buy or whatever, right. And I would start to see like the little previews for it or whatever. And I remember, I think in that first season, they really pumped up Baratheon a lot. Like he was sort of like him and Ned Stark. And I got to thinking, I would see trailers for it, and I'm like, what's the dude from Lord of the Rings and Fred Flintstone from Viva Rock Vegas? I'm like, what is this all about? And then little did I know that 6 years later, I'd finally get into the show.
Well, they both don't make it out of season 1, so you ain't got to worry about that.
Yeah. But man, what an episode, and what a way to end season 7. And I think most people are going to be pretty excited for season 8, and it's just unfortunate that we're just going to have to wait. We're just going to have to be patient, man. But at least we've got, a lot of cool movies and stuff that'll keep us entertained.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll definitely be entertained, but you'll actually get to watch the seasons
for sure. And
so it'll be
fun to go back and watch the first 6 seasons. Now knowing all that I know from this season, like I'll get to be introduced to characters, and then they'll die, and then I'll get introduced to new characters, and they might survive, they might also die. I don't know, but yeah, I'll be clued more in, and but for season 8, I'll have a pretty good working knowledge of this show, I think, and not that I don't already. I feel like I mentioned to you, like
you've come a long way
for sure, man, and it's crazy. I'm like a different person.
Exactly. It's like I look at you and I'm like, okay, he's ready to defend the wall.
He's a real man.
I'm a real boy.
What I wanted to sort of before we get out of here, what I wanted to put out to you guys is, if you guys are a fan of Them Dragons though, and want to hear more from us, I think we're sort of tossing around the idea of maybe until season 8 starts, like maybe doing another show. I know I looked it up before we started recording. I think season 2 of Westworld is scheduled to come out in the spring. So that's a few months. It's probably about 5 or 6 months from now. And I think we should definitely plan on talking about that show once it rolls around, because it's unfortunate that we won't have these weekly get-togethers like we have had for the past couple of months.
It's sad.
It's unfortunate. But yeah, no, what I wanted to hear from you guys is if you guys want to hit me up on Twitter, or send in an email or anything like that of something that you think we should be checking out during this break between season 7 and 8, like by all means, like look me up on Twitter at GrindCityGeek, or you can email me at grindcitygeek@gmail.com. And I might put some stuff on Twitter, maybe some polls or something, to see if there's anything people are particularly interested in, I guess, other than Westworld. I think I'm pretty set in stone on Westworld, and you guys can expect to see more of Them Dragons though. The Westworld edition. Maybe we'll call it Them Robots though.
Spoiler.
I don't know. Maybe we'll probably keep the name. We'll talk about different shows, but yeah. I guess that about wraps it up for this episode. Garrett, thanks for being here, man.
It was a fun season.
Thanks for holding my hand for a whole season and walking me through this and teaching me so much about dragons and incest and magic and swords.
I feel like everybody needs this in their life.
They really do, man. If you aren't watching Game of Thrones, what are you doing, man? But then again, that was me for 6 years.
Yeah, but now you can't say it, so
no.
Yeah, the training wheels come off now.
No, yeah, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you taking the time to do this, and yeah, we'll have to find out. Something to keep us busy for the next.
Man, I can't wait for that trailer, like for season 8.
Yeah, like I imagine once we get a trailer for season. Thank you for bringing that up. Once we get a trailer for season 8, like for sure, we'll probably do an entire episode breaking down that trailer of Them Dragons, though.
Can't wait.
And I'm not super well versed in the world of Game of Thrones trailers. Have they been?
You don't see any like actual footage.
Yeah.
Like you get someone.
I thought so.
Narrating like a character, and sometimes a couple of them. And then it's like this last one was Daenerys was talking about breaking the wheel, and it shows like the different sigils of the houses, and like it shows like the dire wolf and the stag and the dragon, and then the lion. Those are like the four main, and it shows like them in statues, and then she says like, you know, I'm here to break the wheel, which is a line she said from the previous season, but like the whole thing crumbles. And then there's another one where we actually get to see the Night King, and they give you like snippets, but you don't get to actually see like live footage. But it's still easy to break that down to be like, okay, like which families do we see here and stuff like that. But I'm sure this next one for the series finale, it'll be pretty.
It's going to be a pretty big deal for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the point in the show where we sign off, and I typically say we'll see you next week, but unfortunately that's not going to be the case this time. But I guess we'll see you guys maybe in a couple of weeks with a season 1 recap. I think that's the way we're going to do it. You know, just about every couple of weeks, maybe about every month, we'll reconvene and we'll talk about season 1, season 2, all the way through season 6, and maybe we'll do a little bit of a recap of season 7 before season 8 drops. You know, whenever that might be. But as always, you know, I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to the podcast. If you are checking us out on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel, or if you are listening to us on iTunes or any of the other various podcast hosting methods, I don't know what you would call it, be sure to subscribe to those as well. And yeah, I guess we will see you then. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy.
We'll see you in season 8. Woohoo! Winter is here. It's happening. Dragons.
Them dragons then.
All right, guys. We'll see you then. Bye.